Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, Twitch chat, and welcome back to Let Us Play. I'm your host, Father Evan. It's good to be back with y'all today. Good to be back with you. I had a lovely long weekend at Lake George. It was a little hot, but you know what? When you can just stare at the lake, or even better, just jump in it, oh, it's so good. So good to always be up there. So thankful my community has that space, and thankful to the benefactors who gave it to us 150 years ago. But before we dive in for this inaugural midweek Minecraft, I'm excited this is now going to be a thing. I want to give a thank you to Shepherd Central for the follow. Thank you so much. I imagine that's probably about German Shepherds, the dog, not about organizing actual shepherds, but I could be wrong. But yeah, so we're going to dive into the game. We're going to keep the music going, provide a little background noise throughout the day. So welcome back to this lovely server I have with my mods. And by my mods, I mean Step Zero, because Gale doesn't have Minecraft, but oh well. But I want to show you, so last time we were working on Basilica, and we had kind of laid out the general shape. We had constructed the steps of the altar itself. I think we completed the baldacchino on stream, if I remember correctly, but I'm not 100% positive on that. But then I remember I had started planning out the silhouette of the space. So, well, this is where we're at now. I have completed one tower. I have completed the silhouette of the main nave. And it has, on the outside, these flying buttresses. We've given the dome its skeleton. And it's going to have another tower on top. So there's actually going to be a total of 9 towers. So I've decided to name this church Our Lady Queen of Angels. Because there are traditionally 9 choirs of angels. And so there's 9 bell towers in here that they could go to. Or that we have to represent that. But yeah, we have this main nave area. I haven't done all the glass work yet. But, woo, that was some lag. We do have an example window there and there of what it might look like in the end. But I quite like how these columns hold it up, give it some differentiation, but still, it feels very, very tall, honestly. It feels a very vaulted roof, as it should. But I love how it kind of opens up into this dome. I'm not so sure about these walls of gray right here. I originally had envisioned these kind of like if you need to, if you've ever been to St. Peter's Basilica, there's kind of 4 corners around the main altar, each with a different saint statue. So I kind of had that in mind, but I don't know if I really love it as a way to break up this... I want to break up the monotony of all the browns somehow, but I'm not sure if that's the way. But I do like that the dome is going to be in this more red wood, which is the acacia, which is also a way to have an homage to where it's been built in the first place, because those are all acacia trees. And it's also the wood used here in the Confessio, which has a tomb in it. And I guess the other thing is I did the flooring. I did a floor pattern. I absolutely need a first command. I do. I just need to figure out how to make it work with MooBot. So yeah. So that's what I've been working on when I've been dabbling. Oh, and I also I added 2 ambos. I suppose 1 ambo, 1 podium, but whatever. Redid the candles, and then I added presider's chair with 2 deacon chairs for the altar. Can I put clear blocks in the dome so light comes through? I could put clear glass blocks. I'm thinking what I might do, though, is actually put some small windows in, because I do like the red. So I think I want that as the main base. Because it'll mostly look like this in terms of shading. So not too bad. Oh, and I guess we also completed, or I completed, because this is all off camera, this portion of the We'll have the 2 transepts. Although I need to come back and punch out the windows for where they're going to be on this upper portion. Yeah, so I thought today we'd maybe just figure out what we need, what resources we're low on, and figure out what we want to build. I do like how this bell tower came out. I originally had a much squatter design, so I extended it, but I like the honeycombing, and that pays homage to, hey Joshua Mary, it's good to see you. That pays heavy homage to the bell towers in Sagrada Familia, which is one of the inspiration pieces of this build. So I like that. I like how it narrows through use of that stairs, and I like the cross that I have on the top. So every tower is going to be just like this, except this central one's going to be slightly wider because being a dome, it had to be even, and these are built on an odd cross section. So we'll burn that bridge when we get to it, but you know what? That counts for the seraphic. We can count that as the seraphic tower, so it makes sense that they get something a little fancy. Okay. So I'm using... that's right, I forgot. I brought all this sandstone back, and I made it into just regular sandstone. I forgot you had to fire it to turn into smooth sandstone, so I just like compressed it, and I turned into cut sandstone, and I think it's stuck like that now. Yeah. I done goofed. Done goofed on that one. We live here now. We do live here now. We have this is all the stuff we've been using for flooring. We have plenty of it. And then the stripped birch logs is any of the wooden supports. So we're definitely going to need more of that. But you may notice I have quite a birch forest over here. So why don't we do some of that? We can finish up the birch. Hey, Nanakit's cheered with 300 bits. Thank you so much, Nanakit. Is this you want to spin on the candy wheel? Is that it? Yes, please. Okay, hold on. Gonna step over this way where it's safe in case enemy mobs start appearing. How long until the candy wheel runs out? I have a lot of candy, so quite a while. Also good to see you, Brayherd. Alright. Oops. I forgot I had that transition active. Where's the button? Interact. There it is. Wheel pain. Turn, turn, turn. Tell me the candy that I need to suffer. Pulparindo. I need to remember which one is Pulparindo. It's the tamarind candy. I do... these are interesting. This isn't something that I'd want to just, like, eat constantly. But I do like them. But this is the extra spicy variety. Extra picante. How goes the Minecraft work? Pretty good. We just started. Gotta like some of the things on the wheel. I gotta win occasionally. Although the extra spicy I mean, to me, it's not super spicy, but I like spicy food. But I don't know if I'd really call it candy. That sure is a flavor. It's kind of like if you ever had like a lemony, spicy soup. And then you just drink the broth. It's kind of like that. As flavors go, it is one, exactly. The watermelon one is better. I do have to be careful with these birch trees, though, because some of them have started spawning beehives. You were asking if you're... Yeah, I was mentioning my mods earlier. Step Zero says they're working on a project somewhere. I haven't been able to find it. Did you find an end portal, Step Zero? I haven't gone looking for one yet in this world, though I need to because I really want my Elytra. You can barely survive the net. That's fair. I wasn't sure. Maybe that was the Seekers. You found that and you were working on something in there. Birch trees spawn beehives? Yes, they do. See? If they're in the right biome. So it's in a plains biome. And so there's a chance. So that one has one. That one has one. I can get honey from it. You can also get wax. But this is nice because they're staying here, so I don't actually... Oh, there's another. So I don't actually have to build an apiary. Because I have so many here, but I need to make a campfire to smoke the bees out so they don't attack me when I take their stuff. Yep, wax keeps the copper shiny, and it made the candles in the church. Oh, Mother Bee, as the Exultet goes. Oh, hello, Step Zero. Why am I cutting bark first? Because that's the aesthetic I'm using in the church for the support beams. So it's either I chop it off now, or I chop it off when I place it, and this seems easier. Yes, Exalted Bees. Tell you what, it's not like super spicy, but my throat is a little tingly with this super spicy pulperine dope. Is wax the only candle material, or is tallow available as well? No tallow, at least in vanilla. I bet in modded, someone's had to have added tallow. Okay, so that whole side is done. Oh, I know what I need to replace. I decided at some point to make the corners of these pillars, or of the bell towers, wood. Little hard. Oh, I also made a baptistry. I forgot about that. Imagine waiting all day for this stream and still being 20 minutes late. Hey, Mel. Hey, Clutch. Yeah, I cut my hair. I think last week I got a haircut. If you're talking about the ponytail being gone, that was a couple months ago. Meep. Hashtag Latina Catholic. Your words, not mine. Ow. You're laughing because it's true. I mean, little. Bone blocks from the nether. You can make an ossuary. I could make an ossuary. I don't think this church wants an ossuary. It already has Confessio with relics. How did I do the relics? I just put bones in a picture frame. I'll show you real quick. The secret project can now be found. The name for a holder of oils is called an ambry. A-M-B-R-Y. Chapel like the Sudlik Ossuary Bone Chapel. That would be cool. Yeah. A little hard to do in Minecraft, but yeah, so I did some reliquaries above the tomb, and the tomb in Lapis Lazuli. Which means that that's a Jesuit saint. Jesuits have this unique honor of being buried in Lapis Lazuli caskets. You need to ask Minecraft to make paintings in the Stations of the Cross? Yeah. That'd be nice to add. Where do Lapis caskets come from? Great question. Wherever there's a sufficiently large Lapis deposit. No, I don't think the mining prospects in Lapland are that good. They're really more of an agricultural state. What is that the origin of that tradition? I don't know. It's kind of an obscure one, and so there's really not a lot out there, but if you go to Rome and you find a Lapis Lazuli casket at a church, odds are it's a Jesuit. Brain, what was I doing? I don't remember what I was doing all of a sudden. Oh, that was a bitter finish in the tamarind candy. Oh, shoot. I done goofed. Because the cut sandstone here is serving as like a barrier. Whatever the latest version is, 1.21. Yeah, you see where that goes up? That's supposed to be a break. The funnest part of Assassin's Creed 2, climb over all the beautiful basilicas. Yeah. You're disappointed when you got to Sistine Chapel and their roof painting. I imagine there might be some copyright issues with that, but I also understand. No! That's not where you belong! No! Don't! Of course, I suppose it could be said, it's like, oh, the Sistine Chapel was built, but the painting wasn't completed. It's probably the cop-out. Yeah, the Notre Dame Cathedral was used to rebuild, or was using Assassin's Creed data from Revolution or whatever it was. It had one of the most accurate scans, which I find hilarious. It's kind of like how War Thunder forums keep leaking government documents. There we go. Now we have this tower completed properly all the way around. But while we're in this mode, let's go check out what Step Zero has been working on. Step Zero has been building a monastery up in the sky. There's a little chapel, little cell, little scriptorium right now. Yeah, Sky Monks. There's a secret. My phone's going crazy. Anyway, here's the beginning of the little monastery. The little chapel. I like the cross made out of torches. Oh. I didn't do it. Little cell. Scriptorium. I like the use of these blank bookshelves, by the way. Chicken! That's chicken! No worries, I can replant. Go back. Go back which direction? Am I pillaging the monastery? No, I'm just checking it out. What's different in the scriptorium? Wow. You're copying the Book of Genesis. It's a good place to start. You hand-typed that? Oh my goodness, that is... No wonder you were upset when you said you lost an hour of work last night. Here I was thinking you were trying to build something. And I kept looking underground and above and around and just like being like, what is being built? Only chapter 6. I mean, theoretically, there's only so much those are supposed to hold before they're going to start glitching. So you might need more. Let's finish the flying buttresses on this side. Hey, Happy Cynic, good to see ya. "100 pages. That is at 70. Need to do dozens to do the whole Bible." Yup. Yeah, you will. Where did she go? Yeah, I guess. Okay. This should go forward 2, and then this goes out 2 like that. Perfect. Been working on it on and off for weeks. Whew! That is impressive commitment to the bit, Step Zero. I admire that. So chapter 6, you must be up to the flood then. And yeah, the Basilica's coming along quite nicely, Cynic. I've been working on it in some spare time. If your cultural ancestors can spend years illuminating one page, I can type a bit. I mean, fair. I wanted you. Ow. Ow. Using NRSVCE. Very nice. And just got to flood. I called it. I think that's the right height, but we're going to do this to check. Yep, cool. As a weirdo who likes fountain pens and ink and calligraphy, illumination is something amazing. Yeah, I mean, even as someone who's not into those sort of things, illumination is amazing. I mean, I should know my Bible, and yet also I'm a human being. I don't have the Bible memorized just because I'm a priest. And then this next one, we're not going to build the flying buttress because this is where the tower's going to be. I like to think I know my Pentateuch decently well because of my Pentateuch professor. How are you selecting the orientation of the block? So wood block or logs, their orientation is based on the direction you're facing. So see, I can place it that way, or I can place it that way, and it's on the top. You can also make stripped birch wood, which would have the covered side on every angle. But it's a 4:3 ratio, so you lose out on wood when you do that. But you can see we got a fairly good amount of these stripped birch logs to get started today, and we're already out. Is there an Ambry? Kind of. I haven't made a formal one because, like, you can't... To do it in Minecraft, you wouldn't really be able to, but I like to imagine the upper shelf of the baptistry here serving as the Ambry in some way. I can't add 14 paintings of the same size without mods. They're hard-coded. I can add about 8 of the same size plus 6 different size. Yeah, that unfortunately sounds like Minecraft. Aren't you glad you started with Genesis as opposed to really long books like Jude? How about Philemon? It's a single chapter. There's an exploring and can now grow acacia, oak, birch, and jungle wood for the abbey. Well, I think that's neat. I suppose it's a good way to test your typing speed too. Let's finish up this wall. Basically, all we have to do is build straight up off of each of these. It's weird that nobody ever seems to know anything Jude beyond the first chapter. Wait. You're gonna miss some errors along the way. Like the Middle Ages one, thou shalt commit adultery. Yeah, that one was a little awkward. Just, yeah, that's just a straight wall right there on all of that. Why does that look weird? No, I guess it is all there. It's just it isn't complete yet, so that's why it looks weird. Guess it ultimately all lines up with the dome up here. Now, an interesting thing actually is that the transepts are 2 blocks more narrow than the main nave. So the silhouette is slightly modified to accommodate for that. Because I wasn't going to redo the whole thing and push it all out by 2 bricks. No step 0. That's what they get for reading the King James Bible. The King James Bible is a highly overrated edition of the Bible and is very poorly translated. I mean, properly speaking, the Catholic Church doesn't even recognize the King James Bible, per se. Like, it's not an authorized edition to even be used, so... You got a non-denom minister, and they were pushing the on KJV this and KJV that. Ugh. I mean, if folks want to read the KJV, I'm not going to say that it's like inherently wrong. Like, it is still the Bible, but don't tell me it's the best thing out there, because it's objectively not. Like, if you like that poetic language, there's even better translations that keep it. And I think that's the reason that like a lot of people like it, is the fancy language. It's useful as a cultural artifact. Yeah, for sure. Hi, I'm Melanie. Notice the Christian and Catholic tags. Yeah. Very much reflects the values that shaped its creation. Yeah, and that's actually a really interesting thing, is that like with the translation, there's actually one of the guys, the guy who's in charge of translating Genesis, as among other things, but it was kind of broken up into different pieces for different people. And he had Genesis, and he had written a translation. He was pretty happy with it. And then he took a trip to Jamaica for the first time. And seeing, you know, a very different land in a very different light really kind of challenged him in some ways. So he actually threw out his original translation. He threw it in the fire and started over. And that's where you get the line, like creepy crawly things and things that squiggle over the, like that kind of language in the creation accounts in the KJV comes from his experience. So we're gonna go and get more sandstone, because as you can tell, we need a lot of it. So we actually have to come, the nearest desert was actually past Step Zero's monastery. You might have some sandstone. We need a lot of sandstone, and I need to burn it too, so I can turn it into smooth sandstone and not screw up like last time. So this is my quarry in the desert. Ow. I've, you know, been here a time or two. Fortunately, sandstone is really soft and breaks almost instantly with a high-powered pickaxe. Nyom, nyom. KJV may not be the best translation, but it's also not the worst. New World Translation, Joseph Smith translation, yeah. Its importance comes from being the most influential after Mortgage Shakespeare. Yeah, that is entirely fair. And again, you know, there's a time and a place that, like, I don't recommend it, you know, as a Catholic priest. I trust in the guidance and authority of my bishops who have said, yeah, maybe we shouldn't be using this one for liturgy and general spiritual reading. But there's a time and a place that, you know, the poetic language of it, it's nice for like a single quote or something. Worst translation would be mine. I don't know Greek, Hebrew, Aramaic, nothing. Fair enough. And Nana Kit has redeemed a father joke. You know it's a good one when I can't even say it. What's scaly, big, and can eat more knights than a dragon? 2 dragons. So my pickaxe is almost broken. It does have mending, which is nice, but we have to, you know, get some XP things to get it to mend. So we'll pick up what we have for now. We'll take this back. We'll start burning it. And probably even making charcoal. Yeah, you can turn regular sand, you can compress 4 pieces of sand into sandstone. It's not quite as efficient as what I've got going on. Actually, I'm gonna sleep before we return. But if you have some sand lying around, it's not a bad way to do it. Furrowed brow. I like how the church is so big it almost goes, like, you can barely get it all into a singular field of vision of spawn. Oh, we actually had more coal than I thought. That's good. Minecraft Mass, yeah. I don't think it's gonna be valid, but it's gonna be pretty cool. Go chop down some acacia wood. Bring the villagers, have bingo night. Ah, the 8th sacrament. Yeah, give it enough time. You will have all the readings. Cathedral Barber, patron saint of miners and tunnelers. That's a good one. Minecraft Mass and other bad ideas to bring youth back to the church. Hey, how about that? There was a Catholic ministry that just launched a thing in Roblox, of all places, and I don't know how that's going. I wish them well, but I heard about it, and I'm like, don't know if that's the best. Give an entire homily in Villager. I either just gave a brilliant homily in Villager, or I just insulted all of their mothers. I'm not sure which. Every time you hear about Roblox, something weird is going on in that community. Yeah! Yeah, like how the game is inherently designed to exploit the creative endeavors of children and pay them extremely minimum low wages. Like, literally pennies for hours of work. Villager conversions just skyrocketed. Yeah, and prey upon. Yeah, internet gaming has some very deeply unsettling practices that target children in very unhealthy and terrifying and creepy ways. Now I have lots of acacia. I can turn it into... Pluck that out, plug that in. Let's make some charcoal in these. Start putting the smooth sandstone away. The weird stuff that goes on and goes off in that stuff most people don't even hear about. Yeah, I believe that about Eve. I remember anyone here remember the Eve Online FPS that came out at one point? I tried that once, but I couldn't even parse out the HUD to figure out what I was doing. So I suppose it was an accurate Eve experience. Is Eve the game where you literally get a mortgage to get a ship? Sometimes. Yeah, I'd say in a normal build, Step Zero, I don't need this much coal. But of course I chose not just a difficult to get, surprisingly limited resource in the spawn area. I also chose the one that is the most resource intensive to make. They're working on a new FPS. Okay. I mean, I liked the concept of the other one that I had played. It's just, there was so much going on, and my friend's like, oh, and do this, and then buy this. Then I'm like, I know nothing. There, now our pickaxe is back from the brink of death. I'll admit this is a very interesting build for me because it's all a lot of above ground stuff. You know, sand and wood. Like the flooring is underground, but you know, the torches the frames, that's all leather and wood. It's kind of nice working near the surface for once and not having to plunge into the depths to look for more resources. I mean, I still yearn for the mines, but am I DM friendly on Discord? I think so. Yeah, I think other people have been able to, so I should be. Yeah, feel free to send me some questions. I think Twitch, I have it kind of turned off, which I think I should fix, but I keep forgetting to. But I think you should be able to on Twitter. Or, not Twitter, on Discord. Hey, Mesozoic, good to see ya. Yeah, no, I'll definitely take a look. How's life in your neck of the woods, Mesozoic Mind? I'm imagining hot, because it's kind of hot everywhere right now. A breeze would be nice. Yeah, I have my AC turned down pretty low, and it's struggling to keep up. Doesn't help that I have to have my inside for almost a week. It's not a bad way to go. It was funny up at the lake house. The storm 2 nights ago. AC's only really take temp about 20-30. Yeah. Well, and also each of ours, we have like those individual like wall-mounted ones in each room because this building is 100 years old and wasn't designed with AC. So like those are good, but again, can only do so much. Let's take that out, put half of that in there, put that in there. Mini splits, is that what it's called? Okay. And don't get me wrong, I'm extremely thankful to have them. But I also recognize their limitations. You said open windows in Texas. Outside's 103. Oof. But yeah, so at the lake house, when I was up there, it was pretty hot. And the building is 150 years old. So there's... The only AC units are mini splits, and they're in the common room and the TV room. That's it. So the bedrooms are just... It's like, cool, here's a fan. But there was that storm that came in the other night. And at first it's like, oh, that's... There's this huge rush of wind, it's bringing cool air, and then all of a sudden it was just downpour through the windows. And it was like a mad scramble. Like, oh, shoot, 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 shoot. Close the windows. Your cats keep going out to sun themselves, stupid cats. Well, to be fair, cats also have a higher body temperature than humans. Bake faster. Oh, should probably be keeping that in that hand. Get as much of this experience as I can. I assume a blast furnace would not work for sandstone. I don't know. I keep forgetting. I've been playing Minecraft for so long, I forget that new things like blast furnaces exist. That's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. It probably does work, and it's probably more efficient. I don't remember how to make one, and I don't have the recipe yet. You keep forgetting scaffolding is a thing? That's fair. I mean, I first played Minecraft when it was a browser-based game that would take you to servers, and everything was automatically created, but there were only like 8 colors of block. Now, I haven't decided... So one of these transepts, I'm going to build a room probably about here-ish, and it's going to be the sacristy, and the other side will be a secondary altar with the tabernacle. Kind of a la St. Peter's or the Basilica in DC. And then straight back. I'm thinking about trying to do an apps. Can't talk. Apps. But I'm also thinking like an apps with this shape sounds like a pain in the butt. Doesn't mean I'm not gonna necessarily try, but I need to do some mapping out first. How I might have to curve this general shape right here. Or more accurately, this shape, because it's this wide. And then I also don't know what I want to do for the facade yet. So I'm not going to leave, this wide open, of course. So probably thinking like a rose window there, and maybe bulking out the entrance towards where I am, to give some flair, and then 3 sets of doors. It's kind of what I'm thinking right now. Let's see, smooth sandstone slab, good. And let's grab this. I think I'm going to work on this tower. I won't do the floor yet because this is my workshop, as you can tell. But I think I might build this up so that we can see what 2 towers next to each other will look like. I'm even gonna just do that real quick. Rotata. You know, I didn't have a mass today. And I thought about it. I was like, oh, I was sitting at lunch. And I was like, oh, I should double check what the readings are. And I quickly pulled them up. But then I got sidetracked by lunch conversations. So you're going to have to give me a moment as I pull up the readings. Ah, yes. No one knows the Father except the Son, and to those whom the Son has shown him. I think that's a very important part of Christian spirituality, is the importance of Christ, not just obviously for the incarnation, but as truly the means by which we come to know the Father and the Trinity as a whole. My Theology of God professor actually had a really interesting question for us one day. He drew the classic Trinity shield, you know, God in the middle, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and in between each of the persons, a bar saying is not, and connecting to God to each person saying is. So Father is God, but is not the Son, is not the Holy Spirit, etc., etc. And then he asked us, okay, where is Christ's humanity in this? In relation to this diagram. And we had some discussion back and forth. We pretty quickly reached, like, yeah, it's kind of like an extra circle connected to Christ, to the Son. But then he asked a really interesting question. Okay, so where are we? Chili Bella, welcome. Thank you for the follow. Yes, a really interesting question. Where are we on this diagram? And we made... it puzzled our heads. We kind of went back and forth, and we're like, how, this, oh, but maybe that, no, that one kind of leans into heresy. And finally, he did a thing where he took he made another circle attached to the Son's humanity, and said, that's how we're attached by virtue of our baptism. Now, admittedly, it's not a perfect metaphor, but it is a reminder of both what it means to be a member of the body of Christ and be in relationship with Christ, and how that comes about, and what that means, as Christ was talking about in this gospel passage of saying, you know, we come to know the Father through the Son. I mean, the Trinity Shield's kind of a classic thing to talk about who God is, and then the three person of the Trinity, but it was kind of mind-blowing to be like, whoa, right. We're not a part of God in that sense, but like, God has chosen to make us linked to him. I don't trust myself to do it. I mean, I don't trust myself to do it right. I mean, I was learning from He was a great professor. Father Nicholas Lombardo. Great Dominican educator. Also a great missionary to China. He'd spend like every summer going to China and serving in Catholic communities there. How did I do this? Did I clip that? Yes, okay. Yep. Because you may notice I have some upside down stairs helping provide a smoother curve, but it's only on the inside. I've decided on the outside the square blocking looks better. Kind of surprised China allows those to exist. It's complicated from what I understood. I never really got too into it with him, but I was like, good on you, man. It was just kind of, there was some interesting juxtaposition. I don't want to say funny, but sort of interesting of like, you know, here's this book smart guy who's like, you know, classic professor, really intelligent. And also, I'm not saying that missionaries aren't or can't be intelligent and insightful, but it was just, you know, he was like classically the guy who you'd just expect to be in a library every day. And here he is being like, nope, I'm going out. Gonna go preach. Gonna go help these villages build up and get my hands dirty. You know. Was there an OP East priest from east of Haiti? Would that guy be a Dominican? A hound of dog. Sorry, hound of God. I'm getting a little dyslexic. Squirrel has redeemed a mod poll. What great secrets of the universe are we going to find out today, mods? Okay, this is actually really helpful because this tells me how tall I need to make everything. So from the second pillar there, it's too tall, and then it's the cut sandstone break. So I actually need some cut sandstone. So I just have this one left. Just do that real quickly. Okay, so that one needs to be 2. So that tall. But yeah, Dominicans, their nickname is Hounds of the Lord because of a pun. Because in Latin, their name is Dominicani, which you can break up into 2 words, meaning Dominicani, or being Dominicani, which means Hounds of the Lord. What is the ideal time of day? That is our mod poll today, revealing the great secrets of the world. I'm casting my vote. Cast your votes. See what I did there? K9. I hadn't counted it yet. I was wondering what was with all the Ks. Mine. Looks like I got a lot of morning people in chat. No disrespect to y'all who are allowed to like the morning, but I don't mind the morning. I don't know. I'm not a morning bird, and I'm not a night owl. I'm really a midday magpie. Morning is terrible. You were streaming at like 4 a.m. Everything hurts. Oh, I'm sorry. I am a morning person. I'm not surprised by that, Gale. Having known you for so long and even lived with you. Yep. I'm not surprised. You also slept for 12 hours? Okay, well that's good. What did I want to do? I guess I want to make more of these. Is that why you pick up shiny things? Shh, shh. Can't let out all my secrets. Okay. So to do this properly, it's a little bit of a pain, to be honest. Because I can't... I need to do it kind of like this. You really should have raised the vote costs rather than lowered it. I don't know. Someone really wants nighttime. Democracy is speaking. Maintenance man is coming back with a new garbage disposal. I have more coals and incense coming from my altar. Nice. Imagine porch fire picking up that order. Probably come as a bit of a surprise. Okay, so on this one starts on that. See, this is where I wish I need to get more wood to finish this off properly. I will use capitalism to ensure the proper answer. You see, the real answer is that time is relative. Okay, so this one mirrors that way. I don't remember how these pillars work. Okay, they mirror that way. Time is illusion, but the sun is always a good time. Vitamin D. But what if the sun is a deadly laser? Oh man, Sunny D? I bet Sunny D's still a thing. It has to be. It's got plenty of sugar to keep kids going. Let's put that into there. I'm gonna go get some more wood before I go any further. Because admittedly at this point I don't need a ton to complete the tower. But it does make this next part easier. Associate question. What is the purple stuff in the fridge? Look, sometimes you forget about a burrito. Soda, OJ, purple stuff, Sunny Delight. It used to be a lobster according to Cowboy Bebop. Mmm. More pudding. I feel like this is a quote, and I feel like this is a quote I don't remember. And at that point, I don't know if I want to remember. It's an old commercial. Huh. Nope, don't know it then. Clearly the answer is purple stuff. I don't know why they're bothering with Sunny Delight. I grew up in a household that really didn't have Sunny D that often. Occasionally, but really not that often. So it's just like, it's kind of a thing that existed. I think I started drinking it more regularly in like 8th grade or so, but like that was, you know, later in childhood. Ooh, sangria. Whoop. I almost jumped off the edge. Fortunately, I do have good boots to protect me. I'll take care of that later. It's too low for us to get. You're young. I'm only like a few years younger than you, Mel. Shh. Okay. Why are we whispering? So 1, 2. Okay, so these go up by 3 in the end. Knight has won the mod poll with Step Zero contributing 282 channel points. You don't have nearly the gray I do. As far as I could. I don't know. Maybe it's all just hidden. This was 91, so I was 5, 6 years old when it came out. They must have run for a while. Came out in 91. I was born that year. That's probably why I don't remember it. What? Help, I have trapped myself. Does this basilica need signs labeled "careful now" or "down with that" sort of thing out front? No, I think it's I think it's fine the way it is. If any villager tries to protest it, I might have strong words. Downside from work from home, I constantly am tempted by small treats in the house like pistachio gelato. That's not a small treat. That's a surprisingly substantial treat, but a good one nonetheless. And Gale, you've earned it. You've earned some pistachio gelato. It's been a hard day at work, and it's so hot outside. You could have just a little. Just a little pistachio gelato. I hate that I was 1 wood short from completing this, by the way. Give it up for Lent next year. Yeah, it's a next year Lent problem. That's exactly how fasting should work. And Gale, if you get the last of the pistachio gelato, you're not allowed to tell Bad Roxy I told you to. That one there. That one there. That one there. Do I still have scaffolding? I do. Okay. Whoop! That's not going to work. I don't mind using observer mode to just get around quickly sometimes. Like climbing back up something if I fell, or, you know, getting to the desert. But I am trying to build all of this without using creative mode. I only have small servings of gelato or ice cream at once. I find it much more satisfying. That's fair. My tempter voice was interesting. I mean, it's very similar to my radio voice. You're listening to Temptation Radio here on QWR PFM. The bowl is only 3 tablespoons. Ugh. I'm sorry. But very tiny decorative bowls. But I'd rather have a cone. Okay, so there's this gelato shop in Rome that I went to. It was just down the street from our apartment, which was dangerous. And they had these chocolate taps for milk and white chocolate. And they would take your gelato first they take your cone and they'd fill it up about halfway full of this chocolate so that it would kind of harden by the time you ate it. And then they would drizzle some onto a cookie and then use the cookie to do a fancy drizzle onto your chocolate and put the cookie into the gelato. It was so good and so much. It is so extra. I mean, it's Roma. Okay, bye. You've been talking and doing the what was it called, like Lego? I forget. Do the candy thing. Okay. Gail, that sounds like okay. So really, I'll do the candy thing in a moment, but I have a funny story. So Gail, the thing you're doing, I actually had when I first joined Busted Halo a couple of years ago. We were going on retreat, and I was asked to come up with a team building exercise. So I did just that, where everyone got a Lego kit, and it was something small. It was like less than 100 pieces, like a car or like something very simple. And the instructions were to break into pairs. One person had the instructions, one person has the pieces. And I'm like, this will be easy. We'll be done with this in like 20 minutes. An hour later, we're only like halfway through and it's all wrong. And so now it's becoming a running joke in the office of anytime team building exercises come up. Oh, like the Lego one. Okay. It was a good time, though. Everyone had a good laugh. And we have the sets on display in our office now. Didn't want those slabs anyway. Exactly. Yeah, it's not a Lego telephone, but it's like keep talking, nobody explodes. It's like keep talking, nobody Legos or something. All right. Wheel of Pain. Turn, turn, turn. Where did Meep go? I turned him off during these transitions. Enchilocas! This one's interesting. This one's... It's like a squishy ball of mango and tamarind and salt and spice. Yeah. It smells like a foot. And any candy that starts by tasting like a salt lick is an odd choice. Wow. Thank you for the bits, squirrel. It cycles through these flavors of salty mango and spicy tamarind, but in no particular order. Hello, Meep. Have we been bean boozled? You know that experience when you sometimes have spicy food and your sinuses are clearing and you can feel your ear canals draining? Yeah, that candy is doing this to me right now. Which with headphones on is a physically bizarre sensation. You're bringing some Mexican candy to GothCon? Nice. Well, this is Mexican candy. This is Enchilocas tamarind candy from the Mexican market. It leaves a taste not unlike tar on your mouth. And I don't hate it, is the weird part at the end of the day. Like, I would voluntarily have one of those. Not every day, mind you, but enough. I shouldn't laugh at your suffering. No. It's why I put my suffering out there. I'm an entertainer on the internet. I know what's up. Oh yeah, that well, that's the Pulparindo. I like those ones. Those are actually my favorite of the Pulparindos. I was worried there for a moment that I'd get the bacon candy though, because that one tastes like smoke and sadness. Which? Okay, yeah. Doing that one there. That one goes there. I don't want to. I'll find out. He hates all the candies I like. See, I had my Spanish teacher in high school introduced us to a lot of the tamarind candies. So a lot of us in the school actually became very normalized to it. There's actually a Mexican fast food place back home called Betos. They have some of the best breakfast burritos I've ever had. They're like this big and they're $5. But they have a tamarind drink. Minor update, I don't know if you remember when I came in here, Meyer Christ, about having donated to a food bank of another denomination. Finally got to donate to my local Catholic charity. Hey, that's great to hear. That's awesome. Oh, yeah, there's a clip of the pickle candy. Yeah, it's awful. That was uniquely terrible. Like, a lot of the Auntie McPhee stuff was terrible, and I could only ever have it once. The pickle candy, I couldn't even do it. I have chamoy in my fridge and frozen pineapple, for cravings. I don't know chamoy, but... frozen pineapple sounds tasty. Yeah, I'm super happy that you found a way to contribute to your Catholic food bank, and also know that I'm sure your donation to the previous food bank helped someone in their time of need. So. Okay, so that's... Right, okay. Right, I need to level it all off. Cool. Because then I can start on the next level. It's a red tamarind sauce with spices. Goes great on mango too. Oh, so is it like... It's kind of like a liquid form of tahini in some ways. I mean, I know tahini's not tamarind, but like something a little spicy and bitter to go on to fruit. Speaking of which, this is one of the other things that's in the candy drawer. The Tahini Gummy Bear. It's interesting. I like the flavors for the gummy bears that they've chosen, but I don't know, I'm not a big tahini fan, but it's also a really weird texture thing. Chamoy is made with pickled fruit. Okay. Probably knock this tower down. I don't need it. Is it kind of yeah, it's like gritty on top of like the chewiness of the gummy bear, so it's kind of like this weird juxtaposition. It's like rah. Not bad, it's just unexpected might be the best word for it. Oh, you can call it bad if it's bad. I don't think it's bad, though. Like, that's the thing. It's just odd. But I don't call a lot of foods bad, except mushrooms. Mushrooms are just evil. What is this gloriousness? Hey, Yenza. Good to see ya. This is the church I'm working on in my own personal server. So we have the main nave built, 1 bell tower. We're working on the second of 9 bell towers. We have 1 transept kind of completed. At least it completed on the inside. Arge! I'm glad you like it. Here's proof that I will do detailing on the inside eventually. Well, thank you. I'm glad you like it. It's been a fun build. Goodbye. I'm gonna read my sunglasses. I'm gonna re-add my sunglasses to the mushroom. No, the mushroom is cool and there's nothing I can do about it. Oh yes, where was I? You don't like mushrooms? I'm afraid I do not like mushrooms. They are freaky and weird. Okay, so how tall is this? It's 1, 2, Wait, what? How many bits to have you eat a mushroom? All of them. Every single bit in existence. Yeah, no, just that, like, I don't like eating them, but, you know, also just, like, in general, the concept of a mushroom. Mushroom soup? No. Not even cream of mushroom. I do not like cream of mushroom. Wait, I'm confused. Oh, that's why I'm confused. Okay, I was trying to figure it out, because it's like... It looks like it's 3 tall, but not. But how am I doing that? The answer is those are stairs. So it is, in fact, 1, 2, 3 tall with stairs on top. What about conceptually? Do you not like... It's their biology? Like, it's weird? Like... the spindly tentacles they put out into everything. What is it? Micro hyphae or something? The fact that in between cells, they don't have individual barriers. Like, there's no cell wall or cell membrane. Like, they just... Yeah, mycelium. And micromycelia. And, like, there's no barrier in between. And, like... I don't know. It's just... God, I love your creation. Mushrooms, not a big fan. I will be sneaking mushroom decor in your luggage. Well, okay. Weird flex, but okay. Father Evan does like his biology touching, like some people don't like their food touching. I mean... Yeah? And then do I have stairs? I don't have stairs. I need to go get stairs. I could 3D print a mushroom. You could 3D print a lot of things, but that wouldn't... You can't 3D print a mushroom, though, Steps here. You can 3D print a simulacrum of mushroom. That's different. Bren is going to be a mushroom mancer at the Ren Fair. Good for Bren. I will be a mushroom exorcist. I don't know. Because I think about mushrooms, I think about their hyphae. Yeah! You should, they're weird. My printed one would be exactly as edible to you. This is true, but it wouldn't freak me out in the same way. I really hope you go as a mushroom exorcist. Now I kind of want to, but I'm probably not going to. I'm just going to wear my kilt at the Ren Fair. Because I have a kilt and a tunic to wear with it, so it's kind of like, you know. Taken together, mycelium composes what's known as microhesal network. Yes! And the microhesal network is messed up. If it's any consolation, I don't really like the taste of mushrooms either. I can eat like 1 or 2 before I get tired or outright disgusted by them. Like, they're kind of rubbery ammo. See? 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 I'm not the only one. See? But we need it. I'm sure we do. Doesn't mean I have to like it. Okay, so this one had that one in the center. these need to go up onto this part. I've only ever had consistently overcooked mushrooms then. Fair. I went through a phase where I found mushrooms in the woods, did my level best, then taste tested the ones deemed safe. Good for you. I remember my superior in Columbus would bring back bags of mushrooms called chicken of the forest when he went out camping. And I'm like, good on you, Ed. You can enjoy those all you want. I'm not eating them. So like your survivalist phase or just live off the land phase? I mean, I hear it tastes like chicken. Lots of things taste like chicken. Chicken tastes like chicken. Cockatrice tastes like chicken on the chicken part, snake on the snake part. Of course, the snake part tastes like chicken. True but unhelpful. I stopped when I deemed safe. Made me a little jittery, realized that I'm not one to pay enough attention to detail. That's a good sign to have not done that. And see, mushrooms are evil. That's not the takeaway. I mean, if you never ate the evil mushroom, you never would have gotten jittery or potentially poisoned. Yenza will not get terrified when you mention your foraging lore. Hey, Bias Mouse. Good to see ya. There's this one Tumblr post that cost me months of brain space. It was about a wall... off the wall about mushrooms, and somebody asked, "Hey OP, what does this even mean?" And they replaced decay exists as an extra form of life. That's terrifying. I paid a premium to have a supposed expert forage them for me. Capitalism. I'm alive. Okay, what are we doing with this next phase? Okay, that's right. Right? Why does this not look right? Let's go into creative mode so I can count blocks. Oh, that's why it doesn't look like right. Okay. I need to put these on the tops of these to help with the overall angling. What's the build? Just a little church. Just a little thing. Our Lady, Queen of the Angels. And nothing's too good for Mom. Okay, so that starts. So that's 1 block, 2 block, 3 block. Okay. Ooh, pretty. Thank you. Okay. It's easiest if I start here on these ones where they're matching. Did I? Well, I guess I... Okay. No! Don't know why it doesn't switch sometimes. Okay, so on this one... That's right, we started in the center. Yeah, and that'll create that gap. Okay, good. Good. So if this... It's easiest if I just place those floating in the middle like that first, I have learned. Which I'm pretty sure is what I did on the other tower, but I built that like a month and a half ago, so I forget. Don't walk off the edge. How do I get to the next level? I'm just gonna have to remove a piece of stairs. This is about the time in the build when my shift finger starts to get sweaty. My pinky finger has gotten so strong over the years from Minecraft. Take me to a fancy tea party, I can hold my pinky up all day. So this is the level we just completed. So we do this level, and then we do that tower. And then we do the cross. Cool. Oh, we're so close. But we're also almost out of time. Oh, Sag. That's okay. Midweek Minecraft is here to stay. Hopefully. I have no reason to not, but, you know, life. There should be another 3, right? Because it's 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Hopefully done with at least Noah by next week. Nice. Oh! Did you remember something? Since I transcribed Genesis, I found something I'd never considered before. Okay, go for it. Right? Yeah, that's right. It just looks weird in reverse sometimes when it doesn't have the top on. Reading through the lineage, observed lifespans, Noah is reportedly alive through the generations just before Noah popped up. Yeah. Yeah, that's actually a really good point, and I almost wrote a paper about that on seminary once. Because we kind of think, oh, well, you know, no way someone would know their grandparents in that age or etc. And yet you read it and it's like, Noah, or Adam knew like 5 generations of his own children or grandchildren. According to the chronology. No, admittedly, chronology and even the stories themselves, not necessarily literalist, but still interesting. I mean, Adam, as a name, is just a play on the word for dirt. Let's make some more stairs while we're at it. Not particularly deep insight, but the math was interesting to consider. No, I think it is actually a very interesting thing to consider in light of the story and the narratives presented therein. I mean, can you imagine living with your, like, triple or quadruple great-grandparents? Oh no, great-great-great-great-grandpa's telling stories again. Telling us snakes can talk. Don't name your kids Dirt. Yeah, name him Mud. So for this one, I did finally curve the stairs around. Because you may have noticed on the lower levels, I didn't, like, build shelves out of the stairs. Like, it keeps a pretty clean silhouette. That was the past 2 hours. Well, I'm glad. I want to finish this tower, I've decided. Gonna go into a little bit of overtime. Just because we're so close. Okay, so this one... Yep, still 3. That's what I thought. I kept some nice proportions on it. You're missing one slab on the window. Oh, so I am. Thank you. So this one, it goes on the bottom. I'd originally envisioned these honeycomb patterns spiraling, because that's what they do at Sagrada Familia, but I decided that would be too hard in Minecraft. And I was pretty happy with just building this as it is. I think it's still, like, I think the towers are still very clearly Sagrada Familia inspired. Trees everywhere, Unitarians will never recover. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1. Great. Definitely got Sagrada vibes. Awesome, thank you. That's what I was going for. It's kind of a cross between Sagrada Familia, St. Peter's, and something like Notre Dame with the flying buttresses. I just really like flying buttresses. Yeah. Bad stairs. Behave. And with that, check it out. The second bell tower is done. That is pretty sweet. Aren't they still working on that? Yeah, but they're actually getting pretty close to finishing it finally. I do find it funny to compare inspirations. You keep listing real churches. Yeah. But I like how that looks dead on. Like, that is a really nice silhouette. And then the dome up here will have basically a tower, but starting from about here, going up. And then each corner will also have 2 towers. My brain just wants Redwall. I mean, Redwall is valid. Redwall is great. So yeah, so we managed to complete a whole bell tower, actually. As well as some other stuff and some... What kind of wall decorations are possible in Minecraft? There is a painting, as it's referred to, and it can be different sizes, and there's like different options for each one that it just kind of randomly picks from. So, wrong mode. There we go. But yeah, so that looks so cool. I love seeing a build get to this point. But I think that's going to be the really great Baldacchino. Thank you. Yeah, I really like how it turned out. I like how I did the pillars. I think they're cool. And I think it mediates the space really well, as a Baldacchino should. But yeah, so I think we're going to call it there for the day. So thank you so much for tuning in to Let Us Play. I've been your host, Father Evan. And we didn't even have to go into that much overtime. I'm actually pretty happy about that. But yeah, really looking forward to more midweek Minecraft. It's, again, every Wednesday, 2 to 4. It's gonna be the usual normal thing now. Looking forward to it. Join us again tomorrow with Indiana Jones and the Curse of the Forbidden Lost Temple of Atlantis or something like that. I don't know. But it should be. I forget its title. It's Indiana Jones. It's point and click adventure. It's fun. That'll be our throwback Thursday for a bit. Join us. It may be a little bit later tomorrow, by the way. A friend of mine is in town and wants to have lunch. So I was like, yeah, absolutely. But I have the Mass and Confessions, so I won't be free until about 1. So I might be back in time. I might start half an hour late, an hour late. I don't know, but we'll do it. So we'll be around. It'll happen. And then on Monday, more Kingdom Hearts 358 over 2 days and Spirituality Tuesdays. We're going to start Thomas Was Alone. Very excited to start that. And lastly, I forgot about this for a moment. Saturday, we're having a bonus stream. Saturday, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Having a bonus stream, doing more Adventures in Odyssey. Thank you so much to everyone who gifted or got subs as the way to achieve that. I forget where we left Eugene off. Somewhere in the mines, solving puzzles. But you know what? We're gonna figure it out, and we're gonna have a good time. Adventures in Odyssey, yeah, Yenza. Adventures in Odyssey. I imagine you listened to that as a kid. But yeah, thanks so much to everyone for tuning in, liking, sharing, subscribing, joining the Discord. Like Mr. Whitaker's a playable character. Checking out the Discord, joining, subscribing over at YouTube. Been putting out shorts lately. Really proud of the short that came out last week. Got a good number of views. I'm proud of myself. And it's okay to say that, I think. But yeah, love you all. It's good to see y'all. Hope everyone has a great rest of their day, a great weekend. Again, I hope to see you on Saturday for the bonus stream. And let's see who's live to raid into. I'm gonna send you on over to Brosif Lacask. He's a space knight. He's doing some Wind Waker randomizer right now. He's a fun guy. I recommend checking him out. So I hope everyone has a great rest of their day, a great weekend. Take care, and God bless.